What did humans do before weekends existed? Today, the week has a rhythm. Monday feels like a beginning. Friday feels like a finish line. Saturday and Sunday feel like a small island where real life is supposed to happen. But for most of human history, weekends did not exist. There was no Friday feeling, no Saturday morning, no Sunday night dread. People still rested, people still gathered, people still had festivals, holy days, market days, and lazy afternoons when work slowed down. But the idea that almost everyone should work for 5 days, then stop for 2, is surprisingly new. And once you notice that, the week starts to look strange, because a weekend feels natural now. But it is not natural like sunrise, winter, hunger, or sleep. It is a human invention, a social agreement, a little box of time that civilization built, fought over, and then forgot was ever invented. So what did humans do before weekends existed? The answer starts before jobs looked like jobs. For early humans, life was not divided into workdays and days off. Survival did not arrive in a neat calendar shape. If food was available, you gathered it. If an animal needed tracking, you tracked it. If tools needed fixing, you fixed them. If the weather was bad, you waited. Work followed need, sunlight, seasons, hunger, and the group. Some days were hard, some days were light. Some days probably had more talking than working. There was no office clock telling everyone when life began and ended. This does not mean ancient life was easy. It could be dangerous, uncomfortable, and uncertain. But time was not yet chopped into identical blocks. A day was shaped by what the world required. Then agriculture changed the rhythm. Once humans began farming, time became more attached to seasons. There was planting time, harvest time, waiting time, repair time, celebration time. A farmer did not need a weekend in the modern sense because the land did not care what day it was. Animals still needed feeding, crops still needed watching, weather still ignored the calendar. But there were pauses. Communities created holy days, feast days, rest days, and market days. These were not weekends exactly. They were breaks inside a world where religion, community, labor, and survival were all tangled together. For many people, the most important repeating rest day was religious. A Sabbath, a church day, a day for prayer, family, and not doing ordinary labor. But here's the strange part. A single rest day is not the same as a weekend. A weekend is not just rest. It is a boundary. It says, this part of time belongs to work, and this part belongs to something else. For centuries, that boundary was blurry. In many places, people worked when their masters, farms, shops, or families required it. Some people rested on holy days. Some drank, played games, visited markets, or watched public events. Some kept working because they had no choice. Then factories arrived, and factories changed time more than almost anything else. Before factories, many workers had irregular rhythms. Work could be intense, then slow. Tasks could follow daylight, weather, or local custom. Factories needed something different. They needed bodies to arrive together. They needed machines to run on schedule. They needed bells, shifts, clocks, and discipline. Suddenly, time became industrial. The day was no longer just a day. It became hours sold to someone else. And when time becomes something you sell, free time becomes something you can lose. The problem was, early factory life often took almost all of it. Many workers labored 6 days a week. Some worked extremely long days. Children worked too. Rest was not a lifestyle choice. It was a political fight. People did not simply wake up one morning and receive weekends as a gift. Workers organized, religious groups pushed for protected rest. Communities wanted time for worship, family, sports, and basic recovery. Employers slowly discovered something unexpected. A worker who never rests is not always a better worker. Exhausted people make mistakes. They get sick, they quit, they resist. And then everything changed again with the rise of the modern work week. In some places, Saturday slowly became shorter. Then half a day off. Then, for many workers, a full day off. The two-day weekend did not appear everywhere at once. It spread unevenly through labor movements, business decisions, religious compromise, and government rules. But by the 20th century, the idea became powerful. 5 days for work, 2 days for life. At least that was the promise. And this is where the weekend becomes more than a schedule. It becomes a psychological invention. The weekend teaches you to divide yourself. There is the weekday version of you, the version that answers messages, follows rules, wakes up too early, and moves through obligations. Then there is the weekend version, the version that is supposed to relax, see friends, clean the house, have fun, recover, be a person, and somehow prepare to start again. That is a lot to ask from 2 days. This is why weekends can feel strange. They are freedom, but they are also pressure. You waited all week for them, so they have to mean something. If you waste them, you feel guilty. If you fill them, you feel tired. If you rest, part of you wonders if you should be doing more. And then Sunday night arrives. The weekend is still technically happening, but the mind has already crossed back into Monday. This is not just about calendars, it is about how modern life trains attention. Before weekends, rest was often tied to seasons, rituals, daylight, religion, and the needs of the community. Now rest is often compressed into a narrow slot at the edge of productivity. We call it free time, but many people spend it recovering from the time that was not free. And the strangest part is that the weekend feels so normal we rarely question it. We ask what we are doing this weekend. We ask how the weekend was. We say we need the weekend. But maybe the deeper question is not what humans did before weekends existed. Maybe the deeper question is what happened to us when rest became something scheduled after exhaustion. Because humans have always needed pauses. We needed firelight conversations, festivals, sleep, play, silence, prayer, wandering, and useless time. The weekend did not invent rest. It tried to rescue rest from a world that had started measuring everything. And maybe that is why Saturday morning can feel almost magical. Not because it is ancient, but because for a moment the clock loosens its grip. For a moment, you are not only useful, you are simply here. And maybe that is what humans were doing before weekends existed. Not taking time off, just living inside time before it had been divided so sharply.